So today's chapter reading were all related to the first part of the pranayama, namely the correlation between breath, prana, and the different kinds of practices that enable from a beginning step to move forward. So presumably all of you have read it. So I'm going to open up for comments, questions, anything that you have. So please feel free to raise your hand and speak up. Well, in that case, I have to ask you a question. So the question is, what is the relationship between prana and breath? A very fundamental question.
Breath feeds prana.
Distribution.
Somebody said breath feeds prana. I like that answer, but now I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. What is prana?
Prana is the energy, the cosmic energy which we breathe.
No.
Prana is one of the 5.
Yes. Go ahead, Bhairavi, you had it. Go ahead.
I don't remember how to put it in context.
Communication that
Prana,
with the
samana.
body.
and
That's
all that.
right. So prana is all about communication.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And what does it communicate? It communicates how to generate vitality in the system. So when the prana goes, everything else stops. So that you can understand from a modern medicine perspective, they will say a person is dead when they are brain dead, which means the brain cannot function on its own. That means brain is unable to control the breathing and the heart pumping circulation of the blood. So what is it that makes the brain stop functioning? And that is the spiritual body elsewhere. It says, time is up. Forget the body. That's not who I am. Right? So the thing is basically, so the prana is the communication that enables the vitality flow in the body. And one of the vehicles of vitality flow in the body is our breathing activity. Right? Okay, so that was a very fundamental question. And once you have clarity on that one, it becomes a lot easier to deal with other things. But now there is another difficult question. If prana is the communication that enables vitality flow in your system, what has breathing got to do with it? Somebody answered it saying breathing enables the prana or allows the prana to this thing. But that's not quite true. What happens is breathing gives you vitality. That's why when the doctors look at your pulse oximeter and say, look at how much oxygen saturation you have in your blood, they are saying you need so much of oxygen coming into you from your breath in order for your organs to stay in good health, right? So breath supports vitality. Breath is the one that enables, it's a key component of enabling vitality. However, the controller that even allows the breath to happen is the prana. Right? So, some of you may have read the, maybe you have not, but, or maybe you have. That is, there is often a saying among many yogis, watch your prana, and as you keep watching it, that will allow you into a deeper dimension of understanding. Now, what exactly do they mean, watch your prana? Are they saying, watch your breath? People often say, watch your breath, but the key element is to be able to connect through the breath into your prana. Think of it this way. Automatically, when you're not thinking, you're all of you here are breathing any case, and you're not even aware of it. But instead of that unconscious breathing, if you do any conscious breathing in a regulated way, what are you doing? You, the individual, the soul, the chitta, is basically making the prana flow in a different way. Which means what is happening is, what is the automatic control when you take control of it? As you're able to sense it and see what is happening, this is the slow way in which you connect into your spiritual entity, the real prana. So this is the reason all of you here have experienced. When you do pranayama practices, what happens to you? There is a high degree of calmness. There is some of these pranayama practices, the breathing practices, can lead you into a sense of integration within, almost like in a meditative state, right? Those of you who have done the alternate nostril breathing, the Murdhanya Pranayama, the Bhastrika Pranayama, the Ujjayi Pranayama, you can see how it quietens you and, as we say, it prepares you for meditation, right? So it looks like most of you have not read the chapters. Because the thing is, basically, if you had read it, there will be a number of questions that would come.
I have a question, Dr. Rajan.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, all these pranayama when we do, what is the importance of kumbhak? How
Okay,
does
very good. Actually, Kumbhak is the discussion of next week's reading. But
okay.
since you have asked the question, I will answer it now. The Kumbhaka is all about, you know what it is, retention of breath. In other words, either retention inward or retention outward that you after exhaling, holding out. And now, physiological elements are different from spiritual elements. Okay? Now, in the spiritual elements, what it says is, it forcibly opens out or activates, or what will you say, activates or strengthens the communication of the pranavayus. And so if the body and the system is not ready to take it, then in which case it can create damage in your system. That is the reason it is said that if you're dealing with kumbhaka, be very careful. And in fact, what happens is, in yoga, there is a point where you're eligible to do kumbhaka. And what is that? Some of you here, in our daily yoga practice, when we do the 3 rounds of Bhastrika, after that there is so much quietness within you and you're observing. It's like you're not breathing at all. Anybody experience that? You have, exactly. Yes, I know, Srimati ji, you're a yogi. So you have experienced that. And so when you have experienced that, that situation is called Kevala Kumbhaka. The Kevala Kumbhaka is considered a state of high level of purity in the system, whereby you can actually use the Antar Kumbhaka techniques to force things, and it would not hurt you in any way because the nadis are very clear. Okay? So that is the reason people will talk about Kumbhaka. But I will also caution you a little bit. What happens is, in the Tantra Yoga system, some of the people who are in the Tantra zone, they will use Kumbhaka to activate the third eye. Okay? Like some of you in some yoga schools, they will see they do the alternate nostril breathing. And the alternate nostril breathing, they do it with a certain count where they do a certain count of holding the breath. Anybody observe that? Now what happens is, yes, if people do that holding of the breath, then what happens is it is supposed to activate the Agnya Chakra, the third eye. And when people are not ready for it, it can do various kinds of damage in the system. And people can become disoriented. They can lose interest in engaging with their responsibilities in life. So the kumbhaka done when people are not ready is not considered a safe practice. And in fact, for people who have worked with yoga for a long time, they will tell you kumbhaka is not needed at all. Without kumbhaka, you can evolve this thing. So why take a practice when you're unsure whether you're ready for it or not? Without it, you can reach the highest.
You know, I have read somewhere like in the kumbhaka practice, you can heal different parts of your body. Like if you have a back pain or a shoulder pain, and holding the breath and directing the breath towards that can heal your different parts of the body.
By the same token, it can also create disturbance and disability in various parts of the body.
Oh.
Right? So you see, it is like working with a sharp knife. When it is directed properly, it chops and gives the results. When the direction is not accurate, what happens is you cut your finger.
Oh. So when we do Bhasrika, right, we do the kumbhaka, right? So in your practices, right, we do the kumbhak. So that is okay.
Actually, even when we do that kumbhak, the thing is basically we don't do the three bandhas.
Oh, we do
We
it.
only do the chin.
Right. Okay.
Right? And the thing is basically we do that only for the chin, which means what is happening is we are doing it because as people age, the metabolic rate can go down, and this is a good way to protect the thyroid and to stimulate the thyroid. That is the reason we do that practice. Okay. So the thing is when we do that only with focus there, and we are not applying any pressure. You're just holding the breath with focus on the throat, chin down. So what has happened is, at an earlier time, people who were the Hatha Yogi masters, they would say common people should not do any kind of kumbhaka. Then what has happened is, going through a few people that I have come across, Baba Ramdev was the person who started using Bahya Kumbhaka. Bahya Kumbhaka is benign in the sense you're not holding and pressing within, you're actually having a different kind of an effect which is not injurious at all, provided you don't create any strain, stress in the system. And whereas on the other hand, there was another person who actually recently passed away. This man, what was his name, from Bangalore? Professor, anyway, the name will come. So this man, but he was the one who was doing this Ujjayi Kumbhaka, and it had remarkable results related to thyroid for some people. And so when we have tested it, we have found it is a very good practice, and that's the reason we added it to our this thing. So we do it in a very measured, careful way, not like using it in any kind of encouraging people to use kumbhaka in many different ways. We don't. Okay. So Naresh, you have your hand up for a while.
Yes, you mentioned that kumbhaka, the breath retention, inward and outward. Could you explain it a little bit more?
Very simple. When you fully exhale out and hold out the breath, it is outward. When you inhale the breath and hold the breath within, it's inward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that is good. So now let's go on to any other questions, thoughts, because if you look at the chapter, I certainly get the feeling that people have not read the thing, because there are many interesting elements in the chapter related to the physiology of breath and the different objectives of breathing and all of that. And I find nobody is asking questions. So let's go through chapter 8 over there in the sequence. We have the first part about what is prana, how it is related. We have taken care of that. The second element was what is called the first lesson in breathing. And then you have the anatomical and physiological nuances in breathing. And then you have the overview of the variety of breathing practices. So let me stop here with respect to the first steps of breathing, first lesson in breathing. What do you think is the first lesson in breathing? Okay, never mind. Let's go to the physical. Yeah.
Abdominal breathing
would
or
it-
diaphragmatic?
Blamore, you were going to say something.
I was going to say approaching it, especially with beginners, with a light effort.
Very nice. The thing is, yes, there are, both of you are right. The key part is, first lesson in breathing is to make sure that breath is slow and deep and the exhalation is longer than inhalation, so that people are relaxed. Second step is that people typically, when they are stressed, they are not breathing from their lower lungs effectively. So the thing is, basically the diaphragmatic activation is important. These are the things. And so in the appendix that you were going to read, there was the 3-part breathing, how to train people into getting into that. That is there. Okay. So let's go to the next question. What is the anatomical and physiological elements related to breathing? Okay, I'm going to ask you a quick question. You see, in your normal breathing, you use 10% of your lung capacity for air exchange. And when you're doing like aggressive deep breathing, you're using maximum like 80% of your capacity. You can never use your full lung capacity. So why did God give you lungs with so much capacity and you're not utilizing it? Question. All of that is there in the book. So I'm asking a question to see whether you have read it or not. Okay, let's
Get
continue.
lazy.
Huh?
I didn't read the book. I didn't read it this chapter.
Yes.
These chapters.
Maybe because when we are stressed, we only use the upper and the middle lung
No, it's
and
much
don't
more.
use the chest. I mean,
No, it is much more. Even when you are relaxed, that is the case. You cannot use the whole lungs, because the lung has more purposes than to simply for air exchange. All of that is in the book. So that is something that you should look at and learn about it. So let me go on to the next segment, overview of the variety of breathing practices. That of course carries on with the functionality of the lungs and all of that, and how the different types of breathing practices come in there. And we have already discussed the importance of being careful with pranayama. And then of course chapter 9 is about nadi shodhana pranayama. And nadi shodhana pranayama is popularly referred to as the alternate nostril breathing. And here there are a number of nuances that are brought about over here. And again, I can ask you a question, and let's see how comfortable you feel.
I have a question, Aranji.
Yes, go ahead.
On the waste disposal, other than the carbon dioxide and other things, that blood clots, we discussed it earlier.
Yeah, Cassandra.
The blood clots
Yeah.
is it only disposed through the alveoli, or is it melted also in some other places?
That's right. That's right. Actually, Cassandra Wilson made a broader comment in the chat box that it releases toxins out of the system. And that is absolutely correct. And in fact, this is the reason Kapalbhati is considered the greatest purifier of the blood. Okay? So it removes toxins out of the blood. And in some of the measurements which we have done with biomeridian devices, we actually see the liver gets cleansed out of doing Kapalbhati. Okay? So the question that specifically that Ashim asked about the role of clots. In fact, what it is if there is any clot happening in your body, the intelligence in the body will create these anticoagulants, like heparin and various other, biochemicals that will dissolve the clot. Okay? And what they would typically may also do is, if you get a cut or something, it will bring it to the surface and it will get expelled out through the, epidermis area, right? So but then what happens is, if there is too much clot happening in your system for some odd reason, an internal hemorrhage or something that has happened and this thing, then if the anticoagulants are not working well enough, they're not enough this thing, then in which case the lungs become the last resort to cleanse out any remnant microparticles. And those microparticles, when they are being thrown out of the system, what happens is they almost become like dust. And in the breath, when you do any deep exhalation or breathing, they go out. In fact, what is very interesting is, during the time of COVID, there were a lot of people, who were dying out of blood clots being, formed in the lungs, and the lungs were unable to breathe. And in fact, there was a doctor from UK, I cannot remember his name. He had actually said, Kapalbhati is the best practice over there that you can do to, hasten the removal of clots out of the system. And he had brought it on WhatsApp or whatever places it was going around. So that is your answer. That is, yes, Ashim, the body has its mechanism to melt off clots, and this is the last resort if needed.
Naranji, is it Kapalbhati or Brahmari? Because Brahmari, with Brahmari, the nitric oxide, it produces nitric oxide, right? So
nitric oxide does not dissolve clots. Okay? Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It relaxes the blood vessels.
I see. Okay.
So, Dr. Raj, is there any pranayama by which we can balance our Vata, Pitta, and Kapha?
Okay. See, the thing is basically you're asking for one size that fits all, and such a thing doesn't exist.
Oh.
The first thing you have to do is learn to understand what is your prakriti.
That I know. I mean, by the Ayurvedic doctor, that I'm a Vata and Pitta type.
Okay. If that person says that, let's make sure what the person told you is real or not. Okay? Take your right hand and bend the middle finger slightly so that all the three fingertips are in the same line.
Right.
Bring the right hand under your left hand and feel the pulse. Bring it under and feel the pulse. Can you feel the pulse?
Yes, I do.
Now press as tight as you can where the pulse almost disappears. If it disappears, make it slightly less and tell me which finger you feel the pulse.
I think the middle finger.
Middle finger.
Right.
And your Ayurvedic doctor said you were Vata and what?
Pitta.
Vata and Pitta. Now, you've only felt in the middle finger when you press tight, not in the finger towards the wrist, your index finger?
Yeah, a little bit there too.
Okay. So the thing is basically what happens is your Ayurvedic doctor told you you're mostly pitta and slightly vata.
Oh, okay.
Because the most prominent one was the middle finger. When you press it tight, you know that, right? So what happens is, in all of these things, if you're in sync with your prakriti, there is no problem. Okay? So you're a kind of a person who should not sit idle. You have to be relaxed and you have to be completely active all the time. If you're too relaxed, then it is not good for your health, because your natural nature has a high degree of pitta. And because you have a little bit of a vata in it, you also need to have a slight artistic flair, whether it means painting or whether it means singing, whatever this thing, some kind of art, this thing, if you have, that will be the way to let the mind kind of find its own way to express itself, and the mind to flow a little
There is
bit.
no pranayama by which we can balance all these three?
No, actually what it is if you simply look in terms of pranayams are not going to help you to balance. They are largely working on vitality. Okay? It
How
is
about
really,
Ujjayi pranayama?
no. The thing is, you see, pranayam only seeks to balance your overall system. It does not look in terms of individually taking care of any of your vata, pitta, kapha, or any of these vikritis that have happened. And it is essentially, by the way, first thing to understand is, when people talk about your nature, your prakriti, is this or that, what the key element is, it's a state of the mind. It is not a state of the body. Okay? It's a state of the mind that affects the body. And so if you can bring harmony within the state of your mind, then in which case it takes care of yourself. So what happens is, if you're doing regular meditative practice, you're a daily attender of the daily yoga, automatically your inner senses guide you as to what you should be doing. So they stay in balance. Okay. So, Ramesh, you have your hand up.
Oh. Yeah, I had a hand up. I forgot now what I was going to say. What I was going to say was, you mentioned something anticoagulant, pranayama.
Yes.
Which one was that?
No, I didn't say in pranayama anticoagulant. The idea was that body automatically has anticoagulant to make sure that any blood clots that are formed in the system are dissolved, right? So now what happens is, in some situations, for some odd reason, if there are too many blood clots forming in the system, then the last resort of filtering out the blood clots out of the system is the lungs, the capillaries in the lungs. And a reason why blood clots have to be dissolved fully is, if the fresh blood that is coming out of the left side of the heart, the oxygenated blood, if it goes into the brain capillaries, people will get a stroke, right? So the thing is, basically what we were saying is, if the body's anticoagulants are unable to dissolve all the blood clots in there, then the lungs may be the last filter of the blood clots. But Cassandra Wilson also pointed out something very important. It's not blood clots alone. It is all kinds of toxins out of the system. And you'll see when you read, in research they have found there are 250 different types of molecules that are being ejected out. And that is why when you eat some food that is not suited for you, there is smell coming out in your breath. Okay, so let's go on to the next chapter, the alternate nostril breathing that was there. The various nuances about it, in the sense, if you had read the book, you will know how different schools do the practice in different ways. So if you have any questions, you could ask that, or else with respect to the what it does to the two hemispheres of the brain. And then there is the Murdhanya Pranayama. Nareshji, go ahead.
This is unrelated, maybe unrelated question, I'm sorry. But some people are experiencing tachycardia, especially people are after COVID vaccination or post-COVID syndrome. Is there any pranayama practice which could help those individuals?
See, the thing is, you see, I really cannot answer that question because what is the reason for the tachycardia we need to understand. Okay.
Most probably it is the subtle inflammation of the body or heart. That's my understanding about it.
See,
Some
if
level of inflammation.
see, anytime there is inflammation in the heart and all of these things, the tachycardia may be a very good thing for the heart in the sense what it is doing is it is trying to send more blood to the cells in the heart in order to heal the system. Okay, if it's a question of inflammation, modern medicine has enough medicine to provide targeted anti-inflammatory medications. So that's what they should be using under those circumstances.
Thank you.
Okay, and the chapter 12 was all about the Dirgha Shwasa, the slow deep breathing. And that we have covered, as Lamar pointed out. That's one of the first things every yoga school teaches, even though it's not considered one of the regular pranayamas, right? And in the appendix, of course, the 3-part breathing that you looked at. So how many people over here actually read these chapters? Can you raise your hand, please?
Naraji, I read it last year when I bought the book. It's been long time.
That's fine. So I see over here like about 7 people or so, raise their hand out of 21, which is 1/3 of the people who are over here, which is not too bad. Okay. So I'll encourage. Yeah.
I do have a question. Page 62, talking
Yeah.
about the Himalayan tradition. I'm a bit
Oh, very good.
confused.
Yes.
I'm a bit confused and not sure. I've not taught it this way. I'm a bit confused in terms of someone who let's talk about a beginner, someone who has very little breath awareness, right? So you're really starting with just the deep diaphragmatic breathing. How will they know which nostril has the greater airflow and which one does not?
See, the thing is, you see, the Himalayan, you have your hands raised, Deepak and Smita, you have your hands raised. You want to speak up?
Well, Dr. Narayan, you told
You need to
us
unmute.
a lot earlier that you take your cell phone and use your breath, and you will see which area is bigger than the other one. So that's your breathing better through the one which has the bigger moisture there. I don't know whether this is still true or not.
Excellent, excellent. So there it is. He gave you the answer how to know which one has more air.
I'm trying it, yes.
But Naranji, what if both the nostrils have the same thing? Because for me, I think if both the nostrils have like same
Then you don't need to do the alternate nostril breathing.
Murdhanya.
You can do Murdhanya if you want, but in the Nadishodhana Pranayama, you don't need to do.
It will not benefit anyway.
No, it's not benefiting you in any way.
And even the relaxation component.
Avni wants, Avni.
I was just telling Lamore that you can also hold 2 strips of paper under the nose, and as you exhale, you can find out the strips of paper, whichever flaps more is the answer to which is the stronger breath.
So if they're equal, then
need
there is no benefit to doing alternate nostril breathing. Even the relaxation component the focused, mindful breathing component?
Mindful breathing is fine. But by the way, the breath that is considered something which you can do if both sides are balanced, that will take you much higher, is the Ujjayi Pranayama.
Okay.
Right? And the thing is, you see, there is this practice which we do called Murdhanya Pranayama. That Murdhanya Pranayama is a step beyond Nadishodhana Pranayama. It has all the effects of it, but it is a little bit stronger. And then, of course, the Ujjayi Pranayama. I see 3 hands up over there. So please go ahead, Bhairavi.
Dr. Narayanan, I was the last person to raise my hand. Is it
Oh,
okay
sorry.
if I defer to
No,
the
no,
other two?
let's go then to Satish Damle. Please speak up.
Yeah, so I think what I have heard is like every 7 minutes, the left and right breathing actually automatically changes. So I think the body takes care of it. Like every 7 minutes, if you are breathing from the left, then after 7 minutes, it will change it to right, and then it will change it to left. That's what I heard. Is that true?
See, people say things like that. I think if all the people over here went and tested, I don't think you will find that exact result. Okay.
And
So,
I have another question.
Yeah.
As you remember, I had like a stroke, and I still have some issue with balancing. So I was told that neuroplasticity will help. Is there any particular pranayam which will help with the increasing your neuroplasticity?
First, now when you ask that question, we have to define what is neuroplasticity. Right? Neuroplasticity means if you're doing any kind of activity and it's a new kind of activity that you have not done before, like learning to ride your bike or learning to swim or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is the brain creates a new networks whereby it knows how to manage that process by repeated this thing. It learn by a learning process. So in other words, if you keep a calm mind and whatever you learn, whatever new with a calm mind, that is what, and you do it repeatedly every day for a period of 6 to 12 weeks, that builds neuroplasticity towards that particular activity. So if somebody says, the issues you have after the stroke, you need to build neuroplasticity, you need to turn back and ask them, so what kind of activity do I need to do for my neuroplasticity? Because if it is a specific part of your brain that was not responding well, if that's what you want to stimulate, they have to say that. Neuroplasticity is not a generic item for this kind of a healing. It is specific to whatever activity you're doing, right?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, yeah, I'm kind of straining my brain. I'm now learning Sanskrit and AI, artificial intelligence.
Very nice. I think somebody else had their hand up besides Bhairavi, but anyway, Ashim, I thought, had a hand up. But
Actually, that was the exact question I wanted to ask. That throughout the day, our breathing pattern changes. That's what I heard. Not exactly 7 minutes, but quite a few times during the day to cool the body or warm up the body.
See, that's how they call it, cooling and warming up the body from a Hatha Yoga perspective. But from the larger Tantra Yoga perspective, they extend it beyond heating and cooling to being more inward aware as opposed to more outward aware, will lead to the left nostril breathing, and more outward aware and less inward to more to the right nostril breathing. So as we work through different parts of the day, that's what will tend to happen. Now I'm going to ask anybody here, when you wake up first thing in the morning, you felt a nose block happen?
All the time.
Okay, which nose? Which nostril?
Not the same nostril every day, but some days it is so bad that my mouth automatically opens up, entire mouth dries up.
Oh, then in which case both your nostrils are blocked.
Yeah. Not necessarily. If my left nostril is blocked, that gives more problem.
Okay. You see, if you notice over there, if you have had a good night's sleep, and if for some reason you had something that was creating a blockage of this phlegm coming in the nose or whatever mucus coming in, more likely you will have the right nostril blocked rather than left when you wake up in the morning and you're still in the bed. The reason is because the right nostril is the energetic side, the logical side that is calm. It is the left nostril which is more relaxed, connected this thing. So it is more likely you would find. But if you have had poor quality sleep and you need more energy to function, it may be just the opposite.
Oh, now I get it, why it is opposite. And it was reduced to a minimum when I completely stopped all milk products. And then I slowly started taking some product in the morning only, and it has come back. So I am now trying to completely stop that and see my
You
sleep.
definitely should stop all milk products if that's what is creating a problem.
Yeah.
In fact, what it is for most people, milk is a very big thing. And in fact, Deepak and Smita Kotecha, there is no dairy at all in their home. And and they have found the difference for themselves. And this is true for many of our people who have associated that dairy products do create inflammatory process in the system. Now, it is very interesting to also point out that among the dairy products, milk itself seems to be the biggest problem area, whereas yogurt somehow seems to be less of a problem. And the ghee that is out of the butter, the clarified butter, that seems also to be a less of a problem. So there seems to be a variation among them. So Bhairavi, you have your hand up?
Dr. Narayanan, does physiology have anything to do with which breath, which side of the nose, which breath is more prominent? Because you know how the nerve bundles cross at the base of the head down here. And so if you're right-handed, you're left-brained. So is there any connection with breathing? And because I find like anyway, the question
No,
is,
the point you make is not invalid. In fact, everything in our system, right from the inner dimension to the outer dimension, they are all connected. The outer dimension can impact the inner, and the inner can impact the outer, right? And in fact, the point that you make is so insightful. What happens is, in some of the yoga schools, they will teach you, if you find there is more breath in one nostril and less on the other side, whichever side has more nostril, put a pillow under the armpit over there, automatically you will find they will get balanced. So that is direct physiology in action. Okay, so they are all related. It's very insightful point that you make. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to say the following, but those of you who have not read the chapter, if you want to ask any questions next time after reading it, that's fine. But this next week's reading is the remaining chapters in the power of breath segment, right? So please read all of them together. And again, this was not intended as a presentation, forum. This is a forum for you to be able to ask questions and make comments, clarify thinking. So those kind of things. And it's also meant to be a conversation among all of you.
So, Dr. Rajan, I have another question.
Yes.
What is for a deep sleep, for you do, I mean, I do practice with you all that, but what is the best pranayama? That is only the Brahmari or something else?
See, the question needs to be asked why it is a person doesn't have deep sleep. Okay?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and unless you know the reason, what is the underlying problem, you cannot answer the question, what is the right pranayama. But what happens is, typically, for people who are unable to fall asleep, right? The thing is, what is considered the arousal of the brain, hyper arousal of the brain is being too active, thoughts are coming into the head and kind of thing. So in such kind of cases, slow exhalation and watching your breath, as well as, like counting sheep backward from 100 to 1, this thing, and things like, Ujjayi Pranayam, all of these have been helpful for many people, right? And there is a whole segment on sleep as to, somebody had pointed out, and we had discussed in earlier this thing, they have found so many different ways to improve the quality of your sleep. Now, what happens is, it is very interesting that in this day and age, people don't learn to feel themselves. They are more dependent on a little device that is on their wrist to tell them whether they had good sleep or not. So you are not supposed to know whether you had good sleep. The machine has to tell you. So the thing is, you see, when we are in this kind of situation, the key part is it doesn't matter. Somebody called me one day and said, I had only 40 minutes of deep sleep in my system. Is that enough? So I said, if you're feeling good, it's enough. If you're not feeling good, it may not be enough. So it also depends upon your situation. Like, for example, if you have had a vaccine, usually the day after the vaccine, you need a lot more deep sleep than you needed at other times. Okay? So when your immune system needs more boosting, you need more deep sleep. So my suggestion for you is, don't worry about what your Fitbit watch is telling you, but worry about how you're feeling.
No, I feel very energetic whole day long. I mean, I keep on doing a lot of activities, but sometimes I feel I don't sleep enough.
Why do you feel you don't sleep enough? If you're sleepy, because each person's need for sleep is different. If anybody is trying to tell you how much sleep is right for you as an average for everybody, that person knows nothing about sleep.
Okay, thank you. I try.
So I see two hands of Nareshi.
I have a question about Bhastrika. Should we take a 5-10 seconds after inhalation or just go into the exhalation?
See, you're talking about whether there should be a pause after inhalation?
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is basically, naturally, there is a very small pause between inhalation and exhalation in Bhastrika. Okay. But if you're doing normal breathing, the pause is quite longer.
I see. Okay.
So when you're doing normal breathing and that you're not even conscious of, between inhalation and exhalation, there is always a pause that is pretty long. Actually, when I say pretty long, it may be as much as 1 or 2 seconds or 2 and 3 seconds too. Whereas in the case of Bhastrika, when you're doing, the pause is not that long. The pause may be half a second or 1 second kind of thing about this thing. But the pause is only meant because there should be no speed in the mind. The mind should be relaxed so that when you're inhaling and exhaling, it is not like you have to hurry to do the exhaling after inhaling, or after the inhaling you have to hurry to take the exhaling. It has to be smooth, so the pause is very little. And that is how the bellows operate. So the Bhastrika is done that way with very, very slight pause. as opposed to normal breathing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we still have time, Dr. Rajan?
Of course.
So, like, can you explain a little bit that Ira, Pingla, and Sushumna nadis?
Okay. So this was, I'm glad you asked this question. This was the discussion of our last session, right? Chapter 5 has all of that thing. And I have no problem going back to the back chapters. If any of you have read that and if you have questions, feel free to also open up. Okay. So the concept of the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna Nadi is if you can think of, let's begin with the Sushumna. The Sushumna Nadi is supposed to be the integrator between your inner dimension and the outer dimension. What is the meaning of inner dimension? The way you're programmed as a spiritual entity. And your outer dimension is all the situations you're facing in the world at any given time, right? So when both of them are melded together, the inner dimension, basically whoever you are and how it deals with the external dimension, when it does that with harmony, then the flow through that is Sushumna Nadi, in the Sushumna Nadi. The Sushumna Nadi flows harmoniously. Now, in the yogic language, they say that the Ida Nadi is your inner dimension reflecting, and your Pingala Nadi is how the outer dimensions, how they are hitting you. And both together, when they melt together and flow smoothly, they come as Samana Vayu through the Sushumna Nadi, right? So now if you look at it from a modern, anatomical, molecular biology understanding, we will say that the Ida Nadi corresponds to your genes and your Pingala Nadi corresponds to all the epigenetic factors that are hitting you, and both of them coming together creates your gene expression, which changes moment by moment. And Nareshi, you have your hand up.
I forgot to turn off. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Anybody else? By the way, feel free to go back to your earlier chapters. If you have missed a thing, again, this is for your reading, right?
So, Dr. Rajan, as I read in the book, the like Ujjayi Pranayama, when we do, it helps us Sushumna Nadi.
Ujjayi Pranayama essentially works along the Sushumna Nadi, yes.
And right and left nostril is Ida and Pingala, right?
Yeah, actually, let me correct a little bit over here. The Ujjayi Pranayama works along two nadis, the Atma Nadi as well as the Sushumna Nadi. Whereas on the other hand, the alternate nostril breathing, the Murdhanya Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing works with the two left hand side, the Ida and Pingala, in order to moderate through the Sushumna. But the Murdhanya Pranayama directly works through the Sushumna Nadi. In fact, the best practice for us that we do to balance the Sushumna Nadi is the chakra vibration.
Oh, okay. Chakra.
So, Shobha, you have a question? Your hand is up, Shobha.
Yes, Naranji. So one Lamore was asking about how to ask you to explain the Himalayan tradition of alternate nostril breathing. Could you please explain that? And the other question is for Deepakji and Smitaji. If they have left completely become vegan, so what is the source of their probiotics? And so I because I've always considered doing this. So, so thank you.
This is a very interesting question. Let them answer first and then I will get your question. Yes, Smita, Deepakji, go ahead.
We use different preparations, right? First of all, vegetables, mainly the vegetables, are actually they already have prebiotic in them. And then when you consume them, they turn to probiotic in the gut. So all vegetables have this, right? And then second is you can get probiotic cultures from Amazon that you can use to prepare your own vegan yogurt. And that's what Smita does.
So what is the source of what kind of milk do you use for? I mean, almond milk or something else to
Soy.
Soy
milk.
soy milk? Okay, but for some thyroid patients, they say your soy milk is not supposed. They are not supposed to drink soy milk, right? Because it has goitrogens. That's what I've heard. So
I don't think that's well supported.
I mean, we use almond milk mainly, but to make yogurt, soy
Use
milk
soy.
is the best.
I
That's only one.
You were
So-
also using cashew milk, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
because-
cashew is hard to get now.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
why.
haven't seen cashew milk at all here.
Yeah, cashew milk is hard to get. It has become very hard to get. So we use just almond milk for everything, and then soy milk with the culture to make the
Make
yogurt.
Yeah.
You can
So
also make
probiotic
cashew
culture
milk.
from Amazon, right?
Yes.
By the way,
Probiotic culture. Okay.
Shobha have actually
Naranji?
had cashew milk yogurt in his place.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We can buy it.
But,
You can-
I
you can
think
buy
we
it at
get
Whole Foods.
cashew milk yogurt in Whole Foods. I have seen that.
Yeah,
Yes.
But I
Whole
haven't
Yes.
seen cashew milk actually. So
Cashew
No, we used to
milk,
get
you
cashew
can
milk
make it
as well.
home very easily.
I see.
You can make it at home.
Yes, very easily. It just need to soak it and then grind it next day with 6
Yeah.
cup of water.
That's true.
Yeah.
I see.
But there are a lot of
Okay,
fermented.
I will touch base with you, Hiralji, separately.
Sure. Thank you.
Before I answer, I was going to answer the
Thank
next
you, Deepak
question, Shobha, about the Himalayan tradition, but I see two hands up. Let's see what they have. They may be, responding back to your answer question here. Bhairavi, no? So, Satishji?
No, I have a question. I mean, I have read Appendix 1, but I thought if you can explain a little bit more, it will be better. Appendix 1, the 3 types of breathing.
Okay. And Bhairavi?
So my question, Dr. Narayanan, is when you talk to psychiatrists and mental health professionals, it almost sounds like they're referring to the nadis as a hidden lymphatic system. Is that the case?
No, it's not. They may refer it to as in lymphatic system, but that entire field of psychiatry, there are more and more people who have been in practice for a long time. They see the benefits of lifestyle changes and they look at it from a different dimension. By the way, if you know a psychiatrist long enough, you will find a high percentage of psychiatrists themselves are kind of bent out of shape after a while. You will find some kind of, oddity in their behavior, speech, mannerism, and things. And this happens to them as a result of exposure to all the, psychiatric this thing. So if it is all about the lymphatic system, they didn't figure out how to manage it. Okay, so let's come back to the two questions that remain. One, of course, I'll answer very simply. Satish
But
Damle
Dr. Narayanan, sorry, she basically was saying, that the drainage of the lymphatic system in the brain happens while you sleep. And so that's why you wake up feeling more relaxed.
See, the thing is, you see, the body is such a body, mind, spirit complex is such a complex thing. One factor doesn't explain what is happening to you. It's a multifactorial element. Okay, so why did the if the blood was flowing, if the lymphatic thing was flowing out of the brain and all of that helps you to relax, that may well be true. But why does it flow? They don't answer the question. Okay, so coming back now to the sorry, is it one of this question? I'm still have to go back to the two questions that remain. Naresh?
Dr. Narayanan, Bharvi's question about the no, it was I think Shobha's question about prebiotics. The food is mostly prebiotic. When the gut microbiota act on it, become postbiotic. And most people do have adequate amount of gut microbiota. But a person who are bloating and having constipation, which is 30-50% people have it, so they may have to consider yogic practices to improve the colon function. That's one small thing, and we can talk on offline when necessary. I have done a little bit of work on that field, so just wanted to purely correct that notion about it. Thank you, sir.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, coming now to the two questions that remain. One is about the three-part breathing. The three-part breathing in the appendix is, if you exhale like you do in Kapalbhati by pulling out the diaphragm, like taking the belly in, that actually develops sensitivity of the lower lungs. So you're learning to stimulate the lower lungs, which many people don't have. So that is like Kapalbhati breathing. And for people who have so much difficulty doing, one of the early practices to learn to do that is not to do like Kapalbhati while you're sitting down, but instead lie down and keep something on your belly. They call it a sandbag or something that is like a book or something. And what happens is, as you exhale and be fully relaxed, as you're fully relaxed lying down, as you exhale, you'll feel the belly go down. Inhale, you feel the belly come up. So this actually helps to develop the understanding of the lower lung, the expansion. And once you have been able to do that for a week or two, then you sit up and you do the same thing in a focused, conscious way, taking the belly in when you exhale. And that way you develop the lower lung breathing. And the second one is the middle lung breathing. And the middle lung breathing is extremely easy actually. If you take your shoulders back, inhale like this and exhale, you're expanding the chest, the middle lung. And then when you're talking about the upper lung breathing, it's the same as lifting up your hand and stretching the shoulders backward. This is sideways, which is the middle part of the lungs. This is the upper part of the lungs. So that takes care of it for you. So all you're doing is the three-part breathing, developing sensitivity for each part of the lungs. And once you have done that, if you do real Bhastrika breathing, you're taking the full breath in all the three parts and you're exhaling from all the three parts, right?
Sure.
Now, so Satishji, your question answered? Okay, so let's go on to
Narayanji, sorry, one minute. I wanted to comment on this. So I'm just in Art of Living, what they do is they bring their thumb here at the bone and then keep the hands like this for abdominal breathing, and then they tuck the thumb in at the armpit and then do this, and then keep the hands on this, so that your focus is more on those areas. And in some schools, I have also seen they also use mudra, Chin Mudra, Chinmay Mudra, and Adi Mudra, so that the focus is on that part of the lung. So sometimes it helps, I think. But what do you have to say about that?
No, all of them work. Okay, so all of them work, but on the other hand, for people who are real beginners, for them it is easier to do with a little more of a physical motion. But once they become little more sensitive, what you're saying works. Okay, so coming now to the three-part and the Himalayan breathing of the alternate nostril breathing. See, the thing is, you see, the Himalayan system has been crafted around the idea that each person is different, and let's understand what exactly is happening when you're breathing from each nostril. Shobha, you have your hand up again. No, okay. So I'll bring it down. Okay, so here it is. So in the process of learning about what exactly is happening with each breath and how you can correct it to balance, what they are saying is, look to see where you're breathing from. Wherever there is less breath, and what is the nature of breathing? Inhalation activates, exhalation relaxes. So when you inhale through the left nostril, it activates the right brain. When you exhale through the left nostril, it relaxes the right brain. When you inhale through the right nostril, it activates the left brain, and when you exhale through the right nostril, it relaxes the left brain. And the left brain is considered the logical brain controlling the right side of the body, and the left brain is the creative brain. The right brain is the creative brain controlling the left side of the body, right? So what happens is the Himalayan system, they've developed it that way as a way to be more active in taking care of the balance faster. Okay, so they will begin by doing 3 times. They will do from the same nostril, whichever nostril they have less breath flowing, that's where they will begin inhalation from, and inhale from that nostril, exhale to the other, go back to the same nostril again, inhale, exhale to the other. So what is happening is, one way is all you're doing 3 times, and after that you're doing the alternate 3 times, and so they do and then again this thing, and as you see, they repeat the number of steps, 9 breaths, whatever, and things like that, right? So the detail given over there. This is their method. In fact, what it is I would not focus too much on it, okay, for you, Shobha, because the key is for people who need certain practice and things, right? They are the people who need something specific for their own need, may need that. But generally, I don't see any particular improved value for most people. In fact, what I find is Murdhanya Pranayama is even more powerful than anything else. In fact, what happened was, Avni knows this over there, there was one particular person, I cannot remember the exact situation that was happening. This person who was trained by the Himalayan tradition, and that person developed some issue, and she was told to do alternate nostril breathing. And the alternate nostril breathing with this style of this thing did not help at all. So the person made an appointment with me on Zoom. I looked at that person and told him, don't worry about that, just do the Murdhanya Pranayama. And she did it for 5 minutes and said, oh, now I'm perfectly all right. That was the answer, right? So the Murdhanya Pranayama is even more powerful than, the Himalayan technique, in my experience.
What is that Murdhanya Pranayama, Dr.
Oh, Murdhanya Pranayama is bring your awareness to the topmost part of your forehead at the hairline.
Yeah.
Put your finger over there for better focus. Inhale and visualize the awareness going there. Exhale downward.
Oh, okay.
And simply by doing that, that takes care of it.
So
Narayanji, on page 63, under nuances, the first para, is that the Murdhanya explanation? Can you please
Page
check?
63,
So that page
63.
63, nuances to understand effectiveness of this practice. I thought that was Murdhanya. Can you please clarify?
on this.
Right, that is exactly what it is.
Yes, it is. Sure.
No. That's not the thing is, no.
No, she's
You're talking of for advanced practitioners, simply visualizing one's
Just
awareness.
visualization?
Yeah, no, they're still doing the alternate nostril breathing. We are talking about the mudra that they use. Okay. No, that is not Murdhanya Pranayama. That is what we teach people as you inhale and exhale, how you are able to, when you inhale through the left nostril, visualize the awareness crossing over to the right and like a bow coming to the top part of the forehead in the middle. And when you exhale through the other nostril, come from the other way, go this way, inhale up and exhale. That's what that is, right?
So isn't that the Murdana energy, the first paragraph?
I thought that was Murdhanya. It doesn't say crossing. It just says up and down.
Just 1 second.
It's one inhales with both the nostrils, visualizing the flow of exhalation downward towards the body's extremities can lead to the same effect.
Yeah, this paragraph is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
For an advanced practitioner, simply visualizing one.
Naranji, are you sharing your screen? It says sharing your screen, but I don't see.
His internet seems to be lagging because every
Oh,
time
okay.
yeah.
For an now did it come, Shobha?
No, it didn't.
Ah. Oh. It says starting, okay. It says you have to mute yourself in order to see the screen. So as long as you're muted, you should all be able to see it. Well, anyway, let's try one more time.
It didn't, I was muted, but I couldn't see it.
Can anybody see it? Nobody can see it. Whatever has happened. Okay, never mind. I'll read the paragraph over there. And the paragraph it reads is for an advanced practitioner, simply visualizing one's awareness in the middle upper part of the forehead as one. Oh, no. This is exactly Murdhanya Pranayama. You're right. As one inhales with both nostrils and visualizing the flow of exhalation downward towards the body's extremities can lead to the same effect. Here there is no focus on the breath in each individual nostril. This is Murdhanya Pranayama. Yes, right. Okay.
Was Avni's question was the side effects are because of that? Right? That's what you meant or no?
No. I was just pointing out that that is Murdanya.
Oh, okay.
It was not my question.
Okay, we are coming to the end of our time. We have 1 minute to go. So once again, go ahead, Bhairavi.
Okay, countdown. Dr. Narayanan, because we have talked in other classes about the importance of, how your fingers sort of communicate with the or correspond with the different chakras in your body, and how the thumb, when we raise the thumb, we're communicating with the cosmic energy. Then can we have a session on mudras, please, or a book about mudras that we can all buy?
We can talk more about it later time, right? So good, nice question. Okay. So with that, we'll close over here. Again, for everybody, if you have not read the chapters, please go back to all the chapters covered so far, and you can feel free to ask questions again next time, right? And next time's reading, for those who have kept up, is the next few things. It is there in the list, and you'll get a reminder from Avni, right? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.